Welcome to the Rock's Back Pages podcast. I'm Barney Hoskins, and I'm on a screen with my colleagues Mark Pringle.
Hi, Barney.
And Jasper Mirison-Bowie.
Hello, Barney.
And joining us all the way from the other side of London is the fabulous Barbara Allen.
You're
Welcome,
lucky to have
Barbara.
me in any way. Hello.
We are.
Hi. Sorry I couldn't make it to you today to where I used to live nearby.
One day we'll be able to teleport you over here. For listeners, Barbara was a legendary contributor to NME from the late 80s to the 90s when she began writing for The Observer, where she's still an unmissably readable columnist. In this episode, we're going to talk to her about the NME and about the sequel to This Is Spinal Tap. Plus, we will hear clips from a Christmas-themed audio interview with the late Genesis P-Orridge. Barbara, your way into the world of music journalism, as I understand it, was via your own mid-80s fanzine, Wax Lyrical. Sadly, we have no copies of it in the RBP archive, so can you tell us about it?
Well, it wasn't my first fanzine. It was my breakthrough fanzine.
How many fanzines did you do? Well, I know. Well, we'll come on to your football one in a minute, but go on. How many? How many?
Well, I did quite a few. I used to make my own comics first. I was a big fan of Misty Comic. Jasper won't remember that. You might remember that.
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. It was like
We're too young. We're too young.
It was a slightly gothy kind of comic about broken dolls and haunted houses and all that sort of stuff. So I did that first, and then I did a few college fanzines, and then I did Wax Lyrical, and it had like cartoons of like Nick Cave and reviews, and it had interview with the Gun Club and stuff like that. So
wow.
And I couldn't be bothered to sell it because it was really hard work. So I just sort of sent it into ZigZag where it was reviewed, and then Mick Mercer got in touch because he was the editor then. So that was that. Yeah, I kind of like skirted the bit where you had to do a bit of work.
I love the phrase, I couldn't be bothered to sell it. I mean, it's just so entrepreneurial.
Well, the thing is, a lot of fanzine, they were like that, very hardworking, but the girls, you got locked into conversations about somebody's life, like 2 years, like gigs for the last 2 years, and it was too time consuming. So, unless somebody let you put it on their t-shirt stall, it was not something you wanted to do. So there you go.
We also lack any copies of ZigZag in the era that you wrote for it. We have a more or less complete collection up to the point where you join it. So
literally days before you arrived.
Coincidence? Yeah, we chucked them all out. No, tell us what you did for ZigZag. Who did you write about?
Well, the first thing I was sent on was I think it was called the Metal Donut Band, and they were naked. Do you remember them? They were Start Naked. That was my first interview, and I had to go and interview them, Start Naked. I can't actually remember many others that I did for them.
I can see why you remember that one.
Yeah, that one was pretty memorable. I think I interviewed the Redskins,
right?
Also, and stuff like that. And King, do you remember Paul King?
Oh God, yes.
Love and Pride and all that. So yeah, I did a few for them, and then it folded.
It's definitely not the ZigZag of sort of the the Quicksilver Messenger service years, is it?
Well,
the naked metal donut.
First it zigged and then it zagged, obviously.
It was quite vibey, actually. There were a lot. It's like the Cure sort of era and stuff like that. So Mick had a sort of gothic leaning. So yes. He took it in that direction. I think Chris Needs was still around. He'd pop in occasionally.
Mick Sinclair wrote for it as well, didn't he? Around.
Yeah, and there are like Tom Vague, and there was Ron Scapello, who was called Ron. He's now a filmmaker. He does documentaries. I think James was wafting in and out. James Brown.
So
it's that sort of era. But yeah, there obviously ZigZag went back a lot further and did all the rock and all the Debbie Harrys and
went back to when we were young.
Yes. I first bought it in 1969, for God's sake.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
go on, say it. You weren't even alive, were you? Weren't even alive.
So who was the editor then?
Oh, God.
Well, Andy Childs.
Yeah.
Pete Frame and Andy Childs and John Tobler were the original guys. And they weren't gothic at all. Let me just tell you, they were not gothic.
It was quite gothic when I worked for it, but I was still in kind of heavy goth denial then. Photographs have emerged, though. I've had to own up to quite a lot of it since the photographs started coming out.
So you were a fully paid up member of the Goth club then?
No, I didn't do the lace gloves and stuff like that.
Okay.
There's a lot of hair crimping though. And, there's a lot of technique involved in that. But I got called a hippie as well, which I didn't take very kindly to. I had like quite long bushy hair. And so I'd rather get called a goth than a hippie. Sorry, Jasper, I don't follow that. Your lovely long hair. But yeah, there's quite a lot of arguing about which group you belong to, which tribe you belong to. Because I saw myself as a sort of punk, but nobody else did. And there's a lot of arguments. There's quite a lot of crusty allegations and stuff like that. So wasn't happy about it.
Goth's having a real revival at the moment. I mean, Cathy Unsworth's book, at least two books about Goth have just come out. It's a hot subject.
I think it's an ongoing infection, isn't it? It's like it never really goes away because it's inside people. It's within. It is within.
It's like a virus.
It's as if they're not in heavy goth denial, which is so far my favourite phrase in this episode. Heavy goth denial. I mean, it could almost be the name of a band, couldn't it? But were you in goth denial when you got your foot in the door at NME, Barbara?
Yeah, definitely. I walked in, and the first thing someone shouted across the office was, of course, Stephen Wells. Good, we need a goth. And so it's like I was done. I was the goth then. Okay. But so they did need a goth, and they needed a few more girls as well. So I got in there, I think. But yeah, that's the first thing that happened. I think that was the look then, though. I'm still in goth denial. I think that was the look. And a lot of goths are very, very glamorous. I wouldn't have made it as a goth, really. They were very put together, very kind of just so big look going on. And I don't think it was hard work, and I wasn't into that.
I don't know. I mean, we're Facebook friends, and over the years you've posted quite a few photographs of your younger self. I think you sort of slot into that pretty well,
Whatever. The thing is, well, I was accused of a lot of things. I think goths are one of the least of the few evils. I didn't like the crusty thing, or the grebo thing, or the hippie thing.
No.
So we'll go with goth. I didn't think that there's a lot of the music that I liked, that's all. It was quite a small scene, it seemed, even though it's gone on and has grown. I didn't really slot in things like The Cure and the Banshees as goth at all. I saw them as punk. So once you take them out of the equation, goth starts shrinking quite a lot for me.
Well, yeah, because I suppose I would think that Robert Smith and Susie Sue were like the sort of the godparents, if not the grandparents of goth.
Well, that was just the look of it, though. And I think that the sound of it, I would put them in totally different kind of category. I'd see them as sort of just punk alternative, definitely.
Okay.
So, but the look, I mean, Susie was probably like the benchmark of beauty when I was growing up in that kind of music scene. She was sort of seen as a massive beauty. To look as close to her as possible was
right.
Was the goal. Her and Debbie Harry and Chrissy Hine and Kate Bush.
Yes.
And
yes.
Like that.
So one of the pieces we're featuring by you on the homepage in the featured writer slot it's called Days of Guns N' Roses, and you wrote this in November 1997 for your new home, The Observer. And you said, the truth is, for good or ill, the NME shaped my destiny. If I hadn't started working there in the late 80s, I don't know what would have happened to me. I could have ended up buried alive in suburbia, dead in the gutter, or worse, a mini bar virgin for life. I love that that's worse than being dead in the gutter. One thing is for sure, I would have lost out. At the NME, you got to live like a rock star, even if it was the kind of rock star with no success, money or fans. There's not a lot of money in rock journalism. The office careerists always stood out a mile. They were the ones without scurvy.
So that is true, though. The least well-paid job ever.
Yeah.
Even among all the creatives.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to learn, a little while ago, that they don't even get free records anymore. I mean, what are people surviving on these days? Because trolling down to the shops with your records to sell was one of the only reasons I think some people survived. So, But apparently they chuck out streams now and stuff like that. It's so tight. That's not good.
They do chuck out streams. Yeah, they do.
I mean, I do feel really sorry for anyone wanting to be a music journalist now. It's like trying to be a blacksmith. It's kind of like a really weird zone to go into now, isn't that? There's nothing laid on for you. It's very difficult. So that's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
It's a kind of gateway thing, isn't it?
Did you feel you were part of a kind of revolt to the sort of previous half generation of NME journalists, which would include myself? I mean, I mentioned this because there was a piece that when the NME went print free or just stopped printing in 2018, you were one of the people who wrote pieces about that. And there was a piece that Marianne Hobbs wrote for the New York Times, and she claims that James Brown, who you've already mentioned, who started as the features editor, called her and said, "We know a lot about the Smiths and Marxist politics, but we don't know enough about rock music. Can you come and write some stuff for us at the NME?" I mean, so late 80s, the NME kind of it sort of started to embrace capitals ROCK, didn't it? In its many different tribal forms, and it was sort of like, we're really not interested in sort of structuralist polemics anymore.
Well, quoting
or post-structuralist polemics,
or post-structuralist. Yes, exactly. I mean, Derrida was banished from the pages. I mean, what was the culture like for you?
Well, I came in probably at that time because Alan Lewis was taking over, and it wasn't so much dumbing down as he needed to sort of sell some issues. And that's not a dig. That's just, he was brought in to kind of make it something, the passing consumer would want to buy, as opposed to just a very, very intense sort of music fan. So I guess that's why we all ended up doing a lot more pop, a lot more rock, kind of engaging on all sorts of different levels apart from very obscure stuff. So yeah, that's probably true. But I also think that it wasn't quite as, there's so many different personalities and writing styles and focuses and interests on the paper when I was there even. So, it didn't really feel like you were kind of being forced to take any approach, really. It probably caught that sort of the big waves of like Manchester and stuff like that.
Yes.
But that was sort of outside the paper, that happening. So I'm not sure. I think people like Stuart Cosgrove and Sean O'Hagan and Lucy O'Brien were leaving around that point, and maybe they represented a more sort of intellectualized era.
Well, and very political and very, very left of centre.
Yeah.
And not that you guys suddenly lurched to the right.
That's right, diatribe.
Yeah. It was really fun going back to choose some pieces to put on the homepage. I loved one of the earliest NME pieces you wrote, which was an interview with Guns N' Roses, October 1987. It starts, "I am examining a rock biped.
I'm so embarrassed.
The subject has been refusing to leave his plastic bubble of rock consciousness for some time now. I have learned that his name is Slash, and that he plays guitar for an American rock band called Guns N' Roses. Probe any deeper than that and he shrinks away, blinking furiously. The worst case of its kind I have ever seen." I love that. What's wrong with that? It's hilarious.
I think that's very, very funny. I love it.
He was a rock biped.
I had been asking for a long time to interview them, because even though I'm rubbish at anything like that. I kind of did feel that they would be absolutely even more massive soon. So I had actually begged to do that interview and pushed to do that interview. When I got there, they were so damn rude. I ended up writing that. But I must say, they made up a story about me like leaving the interview room crying and all that sort of stuff. There's all sorts of drama around that particular piece. You know, they said that I was so upset I couldn't handle it anymore. I felt I was being used in the hype, like they make journalists cry.
Right,
you know, that kind of thing. But when I interviewed Axel, actually, I should have put more quotes from him in the piece, to be fair, because he was actually fine to talk to and talk for a long time in a kind of nice human way. The other two, I think it was Izzy and Slash, they were being quite boorish, and from the start as well. It wasn't even my fault as usual, you know. So so I just thought, you know what, I'll have a bit of fun. But then they did break big, and they're like, your piece has got about 5 quotes in it. Well done. It could have been this big juicy just before the moment piece, and it's not. It's just me rabbiting on about them being bipeds or whatever.
Sounds like it's their fault, though. So
yeah, the thing is, though, I think that kind of imaginative approach, if you wanted, that was happening quite a lot in the music press at that time. People were doing what they wanted, and it was kind of healthy and interesting for the writers. And I think the whole sort of situation really it gets a bit drier now.
I was going to say it reminds me a bit of Smash Hits, actually. Sort of slightly Smash Hitsy approach.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that was such a great magazine as well at that time. Like, really, again, the imagination and lack of hostility as well. Just like it's a party, everyone's invited. Atmosphere. Yeah, they were very influential around then. Smash Hits, writers like Sylvia and Tom Hibbert. You know, that like really clever, funny writing and making everything else look a bit stodgy if you weren't careful.
Well, it's interesting that Smash Hits at this point becomes an influence on the NME, whereas when I was there, we were threatened and dismissive by and of Smash Hits, which, as you probably know, Barbara, was directly opposite us on Carnaby Street. We would look down, and I wasn't there the day when they apparently held up a banner with their current sales figures as compared with NME's sales figures. They were trolling us from the window across. I do want to just ask you about Ooh Gary Gary.
Well, yeah.
Which is the greatest name for any fanzine of any kind ever. Tell us about it.
I'll take that, actually. Thank you very much. Well, I was in love with Gary, and I wanted to give him the opportunity to ask me to
Can we be specific about which Gary this is?
This is Gary Lineker.
Yes.
And it was around the 1990 World Cup. And there was like World Cup fever and all that sort of stuff. And my friend and I, Fiona, decided to do our own fanzine because we'd seen football fanzines. They were very earnest, very, serious about the match report. Like they did things properly. So we thought we'd spoof it by doing one just about Gary. And and it had like, I will try and dig one out. We had like pretend interviews with him, kind of his Christmas list, a kind of crossword where every answer was him, and all that sort of thing going on. So yeah, and I put the NME address on as somewhere people could buy it, which didn't amuse Alan Lewis whatsoever. When all the 50p's arrived strapped pieces of paper at the office. That was really fun. Apparently Gary just thought it was awful. It was like not very funny. He didn't like it. He thought it was a piss tape, but it wasn't. It was an act of love.
Do you still carry a torch? Do you still carry a torch for the greying Gary Lineker?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's actually quite cool now, isn't he? He's really informed.
I think he's cool. We love him. We chose well in our lusty. Christ. In our lusty way, but it was mostly just we were having a scream doing it. We just thought we were really enjoying doing it
because there was quite a lot of football and music crossover
Yeah.
at that point. So it was just a really fun thing to do. And we tried to get a copy to him via Paul Gascoigne, who didn't understand what we were trying to... Well, we actually bought his stupid book so we could give him our fanzine to get to Gary, but he wasn't very helpful.
Paul Gascoigne, not very helpful.
I'm shocked.
I've heard it.
I'm absolutely shocked.
That's absolutely magnificent. If we fast forward about 7 years from that Guns N' Roses piece we're talking about, you do this very, very long interview with Madonna. And I mean, there's a number of kind of revelations in that, which maybe we'll get to in a second. But just tell us about interviewing the Queen of Pop as she was at that time. And I mean, maybe still is, arguably. What was it like?
Yeah. Well, I was a massive Madonna fan because when she came through, when I was just kind of dancing around the sort of scene, she kind of, allowed you to be that person to sort of dance around and kind of like be a bit back chatty. And, she was, I thought, very punk in her own way, in that sort of New York punk way. But you know what I mean? And I thought she's lovely. I actually love her. It's not like I love her. I actually do love her. So when I got the chance to interview her, I think I just went to her New York home, which is unbelievable. It just feels like a sort of weird fever dream, but I went to her New York home. I was wandering around her place before she came in. It was like that then, wasn't it? And this very sort of ornate flat full of like quite sort of expensive avant-garde art and all that sort of thing. And we sat down, and it was only about an hour. But she's one of those people, like, it's hell on earth trying to get to her, but when you get to her, she just sits down and she's like, right, I want to do the best job I can. I think she's like that.
Yes.
She enjoys. I think she felt as well that I was not hostile. She didn't have to be careful with me, because I was probably kind of like crying and hugging her or something. But anyway, she knew I wasn't hostile. So she was very engaged and very interesting and very playful. And I read that actually because I thought you'd be talking about it. I just thought, oh my God, she's like really good fun in this piece. She doesn't mind a bit of cheek. She doesn't mind a bit of like sharpness or anything at all. She just sort of gets on with it. And I thought she was kind of impressive in that piece, and others I've read of her as well.
At the same time, there's some very serious things discussed. I mean, you say at times during the conversation, Madonna exhibits the strained philosophical demeanor of somebody who realizes that no one's going to look out for her but herself. Furthermore, far from being paranoid, she's absolutely correct to feel that a large proportion of the world is against her, which is an interesting observation. And shortly after that, she tells you that she had been raped when she first moved to New York. And you say, obviously quite shocked. You can kind of feel the shock on the page. I didn't know that you'd been raped. And she said, you're the first person I've ever told. Yeah. I mean, this is reading that again was still sort of quite shocking.
Well, I couldn't, when she said it, she sort of went on to other points, and I was just sort of whirling a bit in my head, not wanting to feel tabloidy, but thinking, I haven't heard about that. And I think then she sort of told me, and I kind of felt a little bit responsible, and I tried to frame it in a certain way because it's very sort of a woman to woman thing. Yes. And also I didn't want her to feel like regret that she had expressed what happened. So yeah, I just think and her response was just to get on with her life, which I think is very... Those were the times when women did actually respond to quite serious sexual assaults by either blaming themselves, which she doesn't do, or kind of getting very practical and moving on because society's not going to help them. Who's going to help them? I think that she, that is the times you're hearing her speak there. That wouldn't happen now.
No, because you say... She grimaces and falls silent, and you say to her, would you rather stop talking about this? And she says, I don't want to talk about it, only in that. And then she kind of pauses. Yeah. I don't want to get into this Oprah Winfrey / Sinead O'Connor thing of, everybody, all these horrible things have happened to me. I don't want to make it an issue, etc. And as you say, you probably wouldn't have got that response now.
No. And she probably wouldn't give that response herself, would she? From herself. I think she probably realised that brushing it away so fast from herself even and not processing it properly was bad for her own mental health. But I think Madonna, she's got a horror of victim mentality. She'll have a good moan. We've all seen her have a good moan about how she's treated, and she can yak on for the ages about stuff like that. But she actually doesn't have a victim mentality. She's taken a lot, and she's got a pretty good sense of humour. I think. I still think she's pretty sharp. The Kabbalah stuff, not so much. That was like, she's wobbling, she's going, but then she recovered from that. And I just think she's really hardworking. She gets a lot of flack. When people have a go at her costumes, it's because they're stage costumes. She's supposed to be seen like 4 miles away. She's not walking to the shops dressed like that. When they have a go at her, obviously, plastic surgery interventions, sometimes she does look a bit odd, but at the same time, I would always, stick up for her and defend her, because I just think she's such an important artist for me.
Yeah, no, the only time she lost me was when she married that ghastly English film director.
She's got very bad taste in men. That's her flaw, and I will stand by that. She's got a blind spot,
right?
And Sean Penn, not so much either. I don't think any of her men are up to standard for her.
Well, who would be? I mean,
you describe her in the piece as the Medusa of MOR, so that's a pretty tough thing to stand up to, regardless.
This is why I get overexcited, and then a good editor should have walked in and slapped me.
Absolutely not.
She is intimidating because she really knows her own mind, and she'll really respond to you if you say something that she doesn't like. So she is intimidating, but I do think there's a vulnerability about Madonna, a sort of loneliness, and we do all forget. We think it's part of her mythology that her mother actually died at a really critical age, and everyone just says, "So what?" It just feels like a story, but to her it actually happened, and I think her humanity just gets forgotten in the mix quite a lot.
Yeah.
When you see her, say a prayer and kiss your heart goodbye. She's gentle in a word, get closer to the fire. Run faster, her laughter burns you up inside.
Barbara, you've written for The Observer now for many years, and you're always entertaining and fascinating to read. And a couple of weeks ago, you wrote a piece about the news that there was going to be a sequel to This Is Spinal Tap. And I love the piece. I mean, I'm no different from almost anybody I know. I revere this film. I worship it. I've probably seen it 10 times. You expressed exactly what I think a lot of us felt, which is, I mean, you say, are some cult masterpieces just too perfect to revisit? And
I think there's anxiety, isn't there? Just because, even though it's illogical, and also the same team, and they're really on the ball, I think. I mean, I saw those interviews like Terry when they're in character doing it. It's just like, wow, they're such good improvisers, apart from anything else. Yeah. So really, there shouldn't be any anxiety, but it's a priceless film, and you just don't want. Keep away from it. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone for once in your, just once. So not to be alone.
Not to take anything for granted. There may be listeners who have never seen This Is Spinal Tap, right?
And they're listening to this podcast.
It's unlikely. It's unlikely. But let's just call out to them if you haven't ever seen it. Please watch. It pretty much invented the whole mockumentary genre. It just gets everything absolutely right. These are comic geniuses. Probably, Christopher Guest, more than anything, to me, is just a genius. And I think that's born. You mentioned the other films that they've made, on the back of Spinal Tap. I mean, they're all pretty brilliant, aren't they? I think. I mean, Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman.
And Michael McKean as well. Also, is a very good serious actor. He's very, he was really good in. Was it Better Call Saul? Yeah. He's really good in that. He's actually a really strong normal actor. Harry Shearer, of course, is in The Simpsons. Yes. Doing all the, Mr. Burns. They're just legends. They really are.
They're giants.
Total legends. Yeah,
they're absolute giants.
What's going to happen with this film? Do you think, though? Do you think that it will? It's just so 50-50 in my head. I trust them.
We all know we're going to watch it. We're all going to watch it. No one's going to go, yeah, forget it. Jasper watched it for the first time last night. What did you think?
I was going to say, actually, in fairness to those listeners that haven't watched it, I until yesterday was a host of this podcast and hadn't watched it.
I trusted you as a podcast host.
I know. I'm being very honest and vulnerable here, so I'd appreciate a little bit more compassion and understanding. No, I found it very funny. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow.
It was
I'm really surprised about that. You took so long to watch it. Didn't you actually have any curiosity?
He's young.
We've been
telling him to watch it since he joined the company.
You know when someone tells you must watch XYZ, and it sort of rarely lives up to how much they hype it up. So I sort of had that sort of reluctance, because then I'd be put on the spot and I'd be told, what did you think? And if I didn't say, but actually I did think it was very funny, which is a great relief, because otherwise I'd be sitting here going, oh God, why are we talking about this?
Well, we simply said you can't work here anymore. I mean, it really would have been that straightforward. Pack your bags and fuck off.
Jasper, you can watch it now. You've got to watch it now 15 times a week. I don't think you understand what you're going.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no. The thing is, I'd like to watch it with my girlfriend, so I probably will watch it again very soon.
That's great.
She'll say she doesn't think it's funny.
I doubt that. True. Anyway, I just, obviously over the years I've seen bits of it, like the amps going to 11 and the drummers dying and stuff, which are on their own even very, very funny. But there's something about the whole thing put together that really does, I don't know, it just treads the fine line between stupid and clever. I don't know another way to...
There's a very strong tone of pathetic all the way through, isn't there? And I think that's what the killing thing is all the way through.
Yeah.
It's not the set pieces almost, it's the kind of trudging and the trying.
You're right. It's kind of this band being eroded by failure, by sort of increasing failure.
Yeah.
Actually, Barbara, you mentioned about how they would stay in character when being interviewed and so on.
Yeah.
So we have listened to the clip, Barney.
Well, I just wanted to insert this thing. So, Spinal Tap are the featured, meta artists on the homepage, and so we're featuring really the first kind of serious piece written about them in Rolling Stone by Michael Goldberg, May 1984. So the film's only just coming out, and what I love about it, to tie it into Rock's Back Pages, is that Michael McKean says, we had this Iron Maiden interview from NME, he says, as David St. Hubbins. It was incredible. The guy is saying things like, McKean slips into his English rock star voice. Well, we like to view ourselves like we're troubadours, from the ancient days of song, wandering around the countryside. So, I love the fact that the music press really did kind of influence their sense of what Tap were going to be like. So I just wanted to quote that.
I love the bit where they're quoting where the interviewer is quoting reviews at them of and they're like, they didn't write that. That's not true.
Well, the thing is, I had a stand-up row with somebody because I insisted they were British. I knew it was a comedy, but I thought they were British actors, and their British accents are just out of this, because most British accents done by Americans are like posh, aren't they? The posh one, but their regional accents are fantastic.
I had the thing in reverse with The Wire, where I didn't realise half these actors in The Wire are English.
No.
Dominic West.
Yeah.
Quite.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Idris Elba. I mean, it's like,
I know.
I didn't have a clue.
I didn't have a clue either. So what's interesting is that 1984 interview, they're not being interviewed in character. They're talking as the real actors stroke comedic geniuses that they are. From then on, pretty much, after Spinal Tap became such a massive hit, they pretty much always did interviews in character.
Including the whole career in character, didn't they?
Whole career in character.
Yeah.
And actually, so just to refer back to what Mark said, we do have this glorious audio interview that the late Gavin Martin, God rest his soul, did with, not with Christopher Guest, but with Nigel Tufnel in 2009. So, Jasper, if you could play this for us.
But their legacy remains, hewn into the living rock of Stonehenge.
I think Stonehenge, which has always been an Well, it's clearly a very old site, but it was not what they think. It was not the place where people went to congregate, to pray or sing or do anything like that. The Stonehenge monuments were the first amplifiers.
Right.
Oh yeah, stone. I've done scientific research. Stone really is amazing when you put electricity into it, how it sends out the vibrations. It's quite incredible, actually.
Yeah. I mean, that seemed to be a real shame. Some of your best work seemed to be Stonehenge, but that little problem with the inches and the feet.
Oh, that's old history, isn't it? Look, that happened once.
Was that upsetting to you? Because it was...
At the moment, of course it was, but now it's 25 years ago, so who cares?
Yeah.
It worked many different nights.
Yeah.
And so what was seen is that stupid night, where someone fucked up, basically. But, we've had many successes, but people don't want to see success, they want to see failure.
I wish our listeners could see it. Barbara was like rolling around in tears of laughter just listening to that. As was I.
What clever actors and also writers, because they're improvising, so they're writing, aren't they? And the new one is going to be improvised, so that kind of bodes well, for what it might be. I wish it well. I just sort of I'm just nervous.
Yes, no, I agree. I think the one thing is they've made so many other good movies about other stuff that
true.
I think they can do this again in a way that, if that had been the only thing they'd done, I think it'd been it'd been.
What do you
much
think of the cameo situation though? With
not happy
what do you think
about
of
that. Not
it's
happy
too
about
much real
that.
life, isn't it?
I don't
Jasper's
want Paul McCartney
Jasper's
in that.
slashing his wrist at the moment. It's like, when is this going to be over?
Yeah. That to me is that's a bad choice.
It is. It turns into Spice World then and all that sort of thing, doesn't it? Because everyone wants to.
But who's going to be in it? Is Elton John going to be in it? And
yes.
Big names.
It's
big
names. I mean, look, they might get away with it. But the point about the original one was that all the character actors were pretty... they weren't very well known, but then they were all brilliant, weren't they?
And the ensemble around them as well. Like, one of my favourites was Janine.
Oh, God.
And her astrological... Because that is so of that age. Because I used to very unironically have my palm read all the time when I was younger. And she really caught that kind of woman as well. So, there's so many different other characters around main ones.
The English manager. Now, it's Lord Tim. Who's the
Lord
famous...
Tim Hudson?
So he was kind of based on Lord Tim Hudson, wasn't he? To some extent,
I wasn't even aware of that, but there may be some truth in it. He was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he? I mean, they just played it so straight. I can believe that some
taste,
I can believe that some bands watch Spinal Tap, on their tour buses, and they were themselves so stupid that they didn't realise it was fake.
I think a lot of people did that. Yeah,
so many great details in it, though. That's all of the little bits are kind of right, like the insistence on how professional they are all the time, and all of this kind of thing. It's like that's exactly what stupid rock stars do. They insist, but I'm a professional, and it's like a sort of mantra. It is brilliant in that sense, and I think one of the reasons why it sort of survives as well, because it is full of casual sexism and even the Stonehenge scene as related, it's kind of but because they're so pathetic,
they stick to tight people on stage. It's like so dodgy on so
it is, but I think it's because they're so pathetic that the film is making fun of that attitude and making fun of them. So it's actually lampooning that rather than kind of furthering it, which I think makes it.
And
makes
from
it
the
work.
Start as well, and from the it didn't sort of become like that because we decided it. They went in with that, didn't they? Like all the information is there. They, like I mentioned in the piece briefly, they've got a With Nell and I stage show. There seems to be like a weird growing appetite for going for cult kind of movies and artifacts. So let's just see what happens. It's a bit of a new thing there, isn't it?
It is. I just want to briefly mention, even the music is done so brilliantly. We were listening to, Big Bottom, Beck's Farm this morning, and sort of agreeing that it's sort of really bad, but it's not sort of in a campy sort of way, ridiculously bad. I mean, and it's sort of
just bad enough.
Tight.
It's believable. It's believable. That's the thing.
The guitar solos are sort of technically okay. They're just really uninteresting.
Yeah.
And even though Tufnel, acts like he's the sort of new Jeff Beck. I mean, it was based to some extent on Jeff Beck. But of course, the idea that Tufnel was even in the same sort of, Stratocaster sphere as the great Jeff Beck is so ridiculous. Anyway, we love Tap and any excuse to talk. And it was just lovely to read your piece and make that the kind of thing.
It was. I think that was a big deal. That caused shockwaves through the thousands of music journalists we know.
I still have a very happy memory of going to see the premiere at the Odeon Leicester Square.
You saw it on this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I remember, I'd like to say our dear friend Neil Tennant. It would be inaccurate to call him our dear friend, but we've had him on the podcast and we revere Neil Tennant. He was sitting in front of me and whoever the other NME people were, and he was weeping with laughter. I remember, we just looked at each other. We all looked at each other like, how did this happen? How did they get this right?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Glorious.
Because you wouldn't have thought someone like Neil Tennant would think it was that funny, but he, obviously he's got a very sharp sense of humour.
Yes,
and in a way, it was pure smash hits, wasn't it? In a sense, that film.
Yeah, that much more so than the normal music crowd, definitely.
Yeah. I think
the good news about the sequel, even if the sequel sucks, is that hopefully, because you were saying, you watched it on a big screen, it means that perhaps like cinemas like the Prince Charles will put on the original in a cinema, and that would be quite a fun experience.
Yeah, it'd be fun if it was released like that, like with a lot of hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Be almost funny if it was just terrible. In fact, they should just get on with it. We're plasters off now. We've pulled it off.
Exactly.
we can't stop them.
There's someone up the chimney hole, and Satan is his name. The rats ate all the presents and the reindeer ran away. There'll be no Father Christmas 'cause it's evil's holiday.
So moving on from the mighty Tap, in the last episode, it was a sort of Christmas episode because the lovely Daryl Easley was talking about Slade and Merry Xmas, everybody. This week, we've got a sort of dark flip side to that because we realised we had an audio interview from 1990 with Genesis P-Orridge of Throbbing Gristle and the Psychic TV fame. It's Mark Sinker asking Genesis about what Christmas is like round the oranges, and it turns out it's pagan. It's a pagan Christmas. So he tells Mark all about what happens. And
up to a point, they still have a Christmas tree because the whispering Paula, his then partner Paula, she whispers. You can almost hear it through the noise floors of the tape. But they are going to have a Christmas tree. But then they talk about it as being Chris. Good old Chris, K-R-I-S. But there's also a lot of ranting about the dying of the sun, it being about the dying of the sun, how modern Christian society is destroying the ecology of the planet, pre-Christian belief systems, Saturnalia. Let's listen to the clip. This is, Santa's pagan shamanistic roots.
Santa Claus is checking his list, going over it twice, seeing who is naughty and who is nice.
I like Christmas. It's great. I always write Xmas.
Right. Well, everyone calls it Christmas, which doesn't it's not the same.
Good old Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was reading a book as well that was interesting on intoxication, and it said that the figure of Santa Claus, and Santa I also noticed was an anagram of Satan as well,
right,
is based on the Siberian shaman who used to take fly agaric, and they would sweat slightly and have rosy cheeks, and they would fly and they would get snow which had reindeer urine on it, which was filled with fly agaric in a non-toxic amount, and they would actually eat that
Right.
in order to travel through the sky to shaman.
And he can't. The reason he comes down the chimney is because he can't touch the ground because he's a shaman.
Right. So the whole thing is just riddled with the most incredible mythology that we don't really get enough of.
Yeah. Right.
But like you say, there it all is on all
But
these Christmas cards. Is this
yeah,
shaman
that's right, yeah.
flying high as a kite on fly agaric hallucinogens?
I mean, listen to it. It's not. It's only a hair's breadth away from Nigel Tufnel in a way, isn't it? I mean,
that was fit brilliantly into the tap, yeah. Pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
all I ever heard about, there was a lot of darkness around that scene sometimes, obviously.
Yes.
But the other thing I mainly heard from that camp was they were always desperate for babysitters. Like, they were trying to get people to babysit for them. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, psych TV, Tom and Gristle, all that sort of scene. It was, there were people that were completely obsessed with them, or it was almost too impenetrable to sort of get into. So
Yes.
it was a kind of odd scene.
I mean, they made a really horrible noise, both those bands as well. You have to take that into consideration. I mean, I first remember...
that should happen sometimes, though, the horrible noise.
Well, that's it's a legitimate expression. I remember when there was that exhibition at the ICA where there were Coombe Transmissions, was the name of their sort of umbrella thing, and it was Cozy Fanny Tucci and Genesis P-Orridge with things like tampons nailed to the wall and things like that. And it was at the time, it was that guy, Fife Robertson, was this ghastly cultural commentator, wrote for the Evening Standard. Absolutely despised this thing. And so we all kind of bought into it because anything that offends Fife Robertson, who is a very kind of loud Scotsman, who's it's not art, it's fart. So anything that offended him went down a storm. But I had some dealings with Genesis P-Orridge, and I didn't like him at all. So that's.
Oh, right. Well, can you reveal those or not?
No.
well, we have discussed them before on the podcast.
Okay.
It was pretty unsavoury then, and it would be unsavoury again now. So let's not do that. But interesting. I mean, presumably, would there in editorial meetings, Barbara, would have been a sort of, P-Orridge camp or trying to get Psychic TV into the pages when others
On the cover.
were saying no. Did you have heated debates?
No.
Good.
I think at ZigZag it would be more floating around during that period.
Sure.
Which would have been a bit earlier, like mid-80s, very early, late 80s sort of thing. So, but they were like a big cult band,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people who wanted to write about them, they'd write these massive, like KLF fans tend to do, like massive, like really intricate pieces that nobody in their right mind would read because it's so it was so over involved about how we're all being like ley lines and paganism and all that sort of stuff. I think the other stuff, like the dodgy stuff, I've seen a couple of documentaries since that seemed to come out quite a long time later.
Yes.
I don't think many people realise about that sort of side of things.
Cozy Fanny Tucci, who has had...
She wrote that book.
She wrote that book. She's now talks about stuff she'd never have mentioned at the time, understandably. And she's actually an admirable woman. I have a lot of time for her.
Some of the women around that scene were very interesting.
Yeah.
I think Dorothy Max Pryor's got a book out as well, hasn't she? Like Exhibition Road or something.
Uh-huh.
Some of the women obviously were taking huge risks in the times that they were living to sort of even live and breathe as they were, never mind be so visible. So they're interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like Genesis himself was uninteresting, and even in this, he says some quite, I think, compelling things about Christianity and Christmas. The giveaway for me is just how bloody humourless people like that. It's all so grim. It's not a lot of fun.
This is a guy really good with he had a good relationship with lawyers because he won 2 massive lawsuits. I mean, $1 million plus lawsuits. One against Rick Rubin. He was staying in Rick Rubin's studio, and a fire broke out, and he fell from a window 30 feet, and he won $1.5 million suing American Recordings and Rick Rubin. And he also
I
sued,
didn't know that.
and he sued Channel 4 for the documentary, which accused him.
Oh, that must have been the one that I saw then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had two. He had two major wins in law courts,
right?
Which is kind of interesting. The fact that he was
so
kind
together.
of, Yeah.
I mean, he obviously could sit and sort all that sort of stuff out in a weird, non-hippie way.
Yeah, he may have had a hotline to Carter Ruck, sort of.
Steady on. I've got a friend who works for Carter Ruck.
So I actually don't know much about that scene. I knew people that were slightly obsessive about it,
right?
But they lost your attention after, because what they were interested in was not. And it was kind of dull. Like you said, it was very intense, very intricate, very, very learned in a way, but madly dull. And very little humour about it. For all the experimentation, sometimes that sort of strain of quite poisonous hippie turns up in music, doesn't it? And it's difficult, it's very conceptual, and it's purposely difficult because they can't do humour. And humour, you've either got that or you haven't.
Yes.
We're coming towards the end of the episode. I just want, before we get to the library highlights section, I just want to mention someone who died in the week, Ezra Mohawk. Not her real name. She's actually born Sandy Hurwitz, but she called herself Ezra Mohawk as a result of being married to a fellow named Fraser Mohawk, who we don't have time to go into, but quite an important LA sort of scenes to guy, had something to do with the formation of the Buffalo Springfield. Anyway, Ezra Mohawk later became part of the whole kind of Asylum family. She was a pal of like Laura Nero, so she ended up in the kind of David Geffen world. And I interviewed her once in Nashville, outside Nashville, where she was living. She's a bit of a cult figure. She made 2 or 3 quite eccentric singer-songwriter albums. I think they were on Reprise. One was on Reprise. It was a great track I remember called Full-Fledged Woman. It's very sort of Nero-esque. She's a really interesting woman, and I was sad to hear that she'd gone. So I just wanted to kind of name check her. Does her name means anything to any of you? Probably not.
No, sorry.
No. She was sort of the Laura Nero that just sort of did not kind of make it in any meaningful sense, but fascinating figure. And at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleagues to tell us about notable articles added to Rock's Back Page. As I say, Barbara, just jump in if anything occurs to you to say.
Just briefly, a few things. Janis Joplin being interviewed by Mike Oberman for the Evening Star in Washington, D.C. in 1968. She says he being Chet Helms, I'd guess, he told me Big Brother was looking for a chick singer. So I thought I'd give it a try. I don't know what happened. I just exploded. I'd never sung like that before. I'd been into a Bessie Smith type thing, big open notes. I stood still and I sang simple. But you can't sing like that in front of a rock band. All that rhythm and volume going. It's a really kind of very nice glimpse of, the new process. Paul Nelson remembers Lester Bangs, Rolling Stone, 1982. He wasn't a classicist, and he didn't run with the pack. Instead, he played spontaneously, from the heart, stringing together paragraphs so disparate that only the force of his will, the strength of his convictions, and the size of his talent held his ideas together. At his best, he could go one-on-one with any new journalist you'd care to name. That he wasn't more widely recognised as an important American writer is tragic, but not surprising. He wrote about rock and roll, still a subject not taken seriously by most literati. He wrote about rock and roll with all the beauty, the wildness, and clangor of the music itself. And finally, he had a sense of humour.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of. When was that written?
That was when he died, 1982. So it was basically.
Right. So maybe he was more celebrated later because he appeared in Almost Famous. He's probably like one of the more famous.
The cult of Lester Bangs is a kind of, in a sense, as you're right, is a sort of recent development. Though he was worshipped by the rock writing community during his lifetime.
Contemporary. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you pronounce Nina Cherry? Is it just Nina Cherry?
I would say Nana, but I might
Nana.
be wrong.
No,
I would say wrong.
It's a question I needed to ask because I'm not. This is Don Watson. This is when she was in Rip Rig and Panic, 1983. I think we tend to forget that she had this career before, solo career.
Yeah, with Andy Oliver.
That's right. In fact, I saw them DJing at Viv Goldman's marvelous
they're
thing.
massive fans. Before Andy Oliver became that big sort of foodie, foodie, they were doing that long before that. I interviewed, I'll say Nana, now I might say Nina. I don't know what to do now.
Let's call the whole thing off.
I interviewed her when she just had her first baby, and it was not that long after Buffalo Stance and all that. Absolutely lovely woman. I mean,
she is a lovely woman. I've met her.
Yeah.
We're featuring the cover. That was a cover story for NME, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was. I think it was just after she'd had a kid. She was carrying this quite big baby around.
Yes.
So it was probably about a year after Buffalo Stance and all that.
Yes.
But she's notably nice.
She really
comes
is.
over really well in interviews. She really does.
Yeah, no, absolute impression I get. You know, she says, I went to Africa once and I felt really at home. I mean, really at home, just straight away. I don't think I could ever live there, mind you, because there are a lot of things there that just ain't in my system that I just couldn't live up to. Like one man having several wives and women having lots of babies, one after another. People are really happy there, though. There's a really strong feeling of community. They can live like that. But I grew up in concrete, you know. I need nightclubs and drinks and parties and stuff.
No money man could win my love. It's sweetness that I'm thinking of. We always hanging up Buffalo stands. We do the dial every time.
Lastly, Tom York, interviewed by David Sinclair of Rolling Stone, 1997. I bought a whole lot of those How to Improve Your Life books. And we've been trying to use them in various different ways. One said something like, you'll never make friends unless you like everyone genuinely. Oh, well, I'm fucked then, aren't I?
Is that Tom York?
Yeah.
Is that Tom York?
Yeah, Radiohead's Tom York.
Like him reading self-help books to sort of like, you know.
But
he just goes to a bookshop, goes to Blackwell's in Oxford and just comes home with the whole pile of everything they've got on like how to love thy neighbour.
I tell you, when I used to work in a bookshop in Charing Cross Road in like 1979, 1980, around there.
Was that Foyles?
And no, it was Words and Music, which is the other side of the road. And I, for some reason, was given the self-help section. It was a really dismal experience. It was just when all these books were really sort of coming out in vast numbers. And the sort of people who would buy them, you just took one look at them, you knew they're wrong.
How dare you? Me and Tom are there all the time, trying to prove ourselves.
How to win friends and influence people.
Tom has such a sunny disposition these days.
It's working. It's working.
It is working. Yeah. They do work. Those.
I love the way my OCR software was changed his name to Thorn.
Thorn York.
Thorn York.
Yep.
Okay, that's my lot.
Can I insert a couple? I don't normally pipe up at this point, but just a couple of things I really loved reading and adding to the library. One, Mark Lewison being interviewed by Graham Thompson in the Daily Mail, July 2019. Mark Lewison is like the world's foremost authority on the Beatles, as I'm sure you know. And he's actually a really great interview, really smart, interesting guy. And he talks about how after volume 1 of his epic, enormous, intended 3-volume Beatles biography, the definitive, he says he received no feedback on volume 1, which is called Tune In. Obviously, it's Tune In, Turn On, Drop Out are going to be the 3 titles. Whether he's going to still be alive when Dropout comes out, fucking knows. It's going on for years. Anyway, so he says to Graham Thompson, not a word, conceding that there has effectively been a severance of relations. That's what happened, yes, but I didn't do it. They severed it post-publication of Tune In. I haven't had the benefit of an explanation. They control the relationship, not me. But I just want to say, so foremost is he as an authority. He dispels all the fake news around the Beatles. So, for example, just one example, the famous quote that Lennon apparently gave, which is, Ringo isn't even the best drummer in the Beatles, apparently was never coined by John Lennon. It had been in fact spoken by a comedian named Phil Pope on the Radio 4 comedy show Radioactive. So there. So there, we are
That is
slaying
quite
the
big
myth.
news,
Yeah.
actually.
Quite
That's a
big
big
news.
quote.
I tell you what, one word of advice to any of social media users here: never ever go on any Beatles fan pages on things like Facebook, because the moment a picture of Yoko Ono was posted, the torrent of misogynistic,
trolling.
racist abuse,
I know, it's
it's
horrible.
just unbelievable.
I
You
know.
know,
Yeah, she was hilarious in that Get Back documentary because she was like winding them up. She's sort of sitting right in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that she was being so sort of in their faces until because the other documentary before that was so muddy you could barely see what was going on. But yeah, she was definitely on a wind up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's extraordinary. There are legions of people who still blame her for the Beatles breaking up, blame her for Lennon's death.
Yeah.
Well, they must be pretty old by now. It's like you think they've grown out of it.
You're never too old to troll.
Yeah,
Never too old to troll.
I don't tend to look at their personal profiles to sort of work out who they are.
Yeah.
The fake names are enough.
So the second piece just caught my eye because it's the fabulous Diane Warren, songwriter to the stars. We've actually got 2 Diane Warren audio interviews on Rock's back pages, I'm delighted to say. This is an interview that Dorian Lynskey did for The Guardian in August 2021, and she's about to release an album, her own album, The Cave Sessions Volume 1, which are versions of many of her huge hit records done by her. Anyway, she sort of talks about very disparagingly about sort of songwriting teams. It says, almost uniquely in modern pop, she prefers to work alone. She says, I don't know, when there's 12 writers on a song, what exactly are they doing? She says, are they getting the coffee? Are they coming up with a hi-hat pattern in the bridge? I mean, I don't need a writing camp. I am a writing camp. Anyway, I
love that.
You get a little pop then at all the kind of Ed Sheeran, kind of Taylor. They all have their songwriting groups and stuff. And I kind of sympathise a little bit because bands have that organically. So they're just kind of creating a band around themselves, aren't they? But it is quite funny.
Yeah.
It must look peculiar.
Since you mentioned Ed Sheeran, I wanted to just quickly go back to like the NME. When you wrote this piece, I just love this quote, if I can find it. You wrote a piece in 2018, really sort of standing up for music journalism in a way that I appreciated. And so this is March 2018 when they're going, what happened in 2018? They went just online only.
Right.
So
it was a long, slow kind of slide, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's a great. So the title of your piece is "Farewell, NME: Irreverent, Acerbic, Essential." At least when I was there, Barbara.
Everyone said. Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, and then in the first paragraph, you go, "Is everybody absolutely sure that there's no need for a music press?" I have 2 words. Ed and Sheeran.
I have got a beef with him. I think that the music industry pivoting to find new versions of him was the music press would have sorted that out back in the day. We wouldn't have even been that horrible to him. We'd have just put him where he should be and not everywhere. So he's a bugbear of mine.
Beautiful. Well, I totally agree. Jasper, what have you got for us this week?
I've got a few things. First of which is Sophie Ellis Bextor, interviewed by Sylvia Patterson interviewed by Sylvia Patterson for The Word. And Sylvia Patterson puts to her, "You used to write charismatic frontwoman underneath your autograph." I haven't written that for a while. It's tongue-in-cheek, really, and if you have to write it, it probably isn't so. Any opportunity I get to tell people how they should view me, then I'll take it. I had a few things I used to write on autographs. That or be naughty. And then she goes on to talk about songwriting, and I really like this bit. Go in, put some chords up, start getting a melody. Without sounding too pretentious about it, I've always felt like a good melody... I'm gonna go for it. When Michelangelo was making sculptures, he used to say he'd have a block of stone and the sculpture ready within, and you just have to chip away until you find the sculpture. It's the same with melody. It's there, an obvious melody. It's just gonna appear, emerge. So you sing around it, and then you realise you're coming back to the same 4 notes, and that's your thing. I think anyone can do it, though. It's like a muscle. With confidence and practice, you get better all the time. Then you realise you're writing exactly the same song over and over, and that's when you stop.
Cue Ed Sheeran. Cue Ed
That
Sheeran.
was quite tap to get back to tap. That was Sophie's tap.
I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Very good.
And then David Stubbs writing for Jockey Slut magazine on Joseph Lanza's Elevator Music, a surreal history of Muzak, easy listening and other mood song. It's good because, David Stubbs is trying, I think, quite hard to give elevator music, this book about elevator music, the sort of airing that it should get as a result of this volume. And, elevator music is in many ways instructive. Its scholarly foundation is strong, with Lanza invoking the literature of Sir Francis Bacon, Thomas More, and Aldous Huxley, the mellifluous tones of David's harp playing, which prevented King Saul from going insane, and Gregorian plainsong, medieval Muzak. All this is part of his mission to explain how mood music is not some contemporary abomination, but a genre that has existed since the beginning of time, etc., etc., etc. All of this conveyed in Lanza's often elegant and acute prose makes for a recommended read. But this stuff wasn't any good. The snobs were right. Even Ted Nugent, for once in his life, was right.
He's a melody maker,
Because
right?
Ted
Much
Nugent-
more intellectual than we were.
Ted Nugent hated Muzak so much that apparently he tabled a $10 million bid to buy the company just so that he could shut it down. So there you go. And then, last of all, I'd like to talk about a piece, Carol Cooper in the Village Voice, on the 3rd of May, 2017. And this has interested me because it's Rakim Marley Marl, Roxanne Shante, and other rap pioneers celebrate 40 years of hip-hop. Now, this year, 2023, we've been celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, and 2017 is only 6 years ago. So, somewhere along
There's
the
a
line...
dispute about when it started, isn't
It's
there?
almost as if...
1973.
Oh.
Yes,
That's when Kool Herc put on the first party in the rec room of a block
It's
of.
disputed though, because even when all the documentaries came out
Yeah.
this year, earlier in the year, they were still sort of saying it is disputed. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
disputing or what came earlier or a little bit later.
But Carol Cooper talked to Sal Abicello, whose bar it was on Jerome Avenue, that then Baz Luhrmann turned into something slightly different in the Get Down.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
And Abicello is so it's a world Netflix subscribers may recognise from Baz Luhrmann's early hip-hop Fantasia, The Get Down. Abicello certainly did. 2 years ago, when he brought his first hip-hop fever reunion concert to the Lehman Center, The Get Down was not yet turning rap history into a colourful fairy tale. But Luhrmann showed up at the concert looking for inspiration. He saw me, met Curtis Blow, met all the rappers, got phone numbers, and I never heard from him again, Abicello recalls, with barely contained frustration.
Ooh.
Now, if you stream the show, you'll see how he ripped off and changed the image of the Fever to put this imaginary club up there called L'Inferno. On the show, it's run as an organised crime front, a far cry from the way regulars remember the Fever. So that's kind of a little dig there from
there's quite
Sal.
a frowning. People frowned upon a bit of glamour with the women in hip hop for a long time. Actually, back in they would get criticised for it rather than it was more kind of it was seen as proper to be kind of street, almost kind of boyish. In how you approached it, and not to glam up and be sort of sexy and I think you said to me about that piece with Salt and Pepper where they got a lot of criticism for being a bit raunchy and a bit pop.
Yes.
So
I love Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
I think Salt and Pepper are just phenomenally good.
But I mean, did you watch the Get Down, the Baz Luhrmann thing?
I haven't seen that one of his. No,
I watched 2 episodes and bailed. It was just ludicrous. It was like
him generally is
Sorry. Yes. Baz, ludicrous.
Surely not.
He invented ludicrous.
Oh God! I mean, you're turning the South Bronx into a fairyland was just absolutely madness.
What,
but
Winter Wonderland?
Yes.
Okay, well, I might avoid that then.
Right, listen, I think we're coming to the end of our podcast episode. I'm sure Barbara's got to get back to doing some actual work.
Got a few emails to check. Sports Direct mugs of coffee to drink.
It's been absolutely fabulous hosting you, Barbara. I'm so glad we made it work. It only took about 2 hours to get the technology right. I'm glad we set aside the whole day. Yes. I did say it'd be quicker just to come down here. Listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, please follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you use. And give us a review if you can. It really helps. Do visit Rock's Back Pages, where subscribers can read over 50,000 articles and listen to over 800 audio interviews. Check to see if your local library subscribes to RBP, and if not, maybe suggest they take a free trial of the world's largest archive of music journalism. And we will be back in the new year with Andy Schwartz of New York rocker fame. So we'll be going back to the CBGB days of the mid-70s. Until then, happy Christmas to one and all. Thank you again, Barbara, so much.
Thank you.
And,
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
and we at this point say goodbye.
Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the
Hold
house...
it now, wait, hold it. That's played out. Hit it. Don't you give me all that jive about things you wrote before.
That concludes episode 167 of the Rock's Back Pages podcast. Many thanks to special guest Barbara Ellen. Find more of her writing in The Observer and on RBP. Those to Bonnie Hoskins and Mark Pringle, and it was co-hosted and produced by Jasper Murison Bowie. The Rock's Back Pages podcast is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. You can find thousands of articles as well as hundreds of full-length audio interviews at rocksbackpages.com. Happy holidays.
Now I'm the guy named Curtis Blow, and Christmas is one thing I know. So every year, just about this time, I celebrate it with a rhyme. But a red suited dude with a friendly attitude and a slave full of goodies for the people on the block. Got a long white beard, maybe looks kind of weird, and if you ever see him, he can give you quite a shock.